Hello, friends. My name is Charmaine, and here at To a Child, we talk about spirituality and mental health. And today I kind of want to talk about boundaries and triggers. Now, triggers are those things that make us become emotional, real fast. And boundaries are things that you put in place so that people know how to love you properly, know how to care for you. Triggers happen when your boundaries are crossed again and again and again. And maybe you haven't set the boundary, and that's why the boundary gets crossed. Coming from my complex PTSD, my triggers, I had four main triggers. And growing up, I didn't learn what boundaries were. I didn't know what real boundaries were. Now I know what boundaries are. And I realized that my lack of boundaries made really serious triggers for me. Being told what to do was a trigger, authority was a trigger, a certain tone of voice was a trigger for me. Um, These were all individually dealt with over the years, but these were the main ones way back when I started therapy in 2010. I'm glad to say now that I've developed healthy boundaries, that I've developed healthy friendships, and that those triggers don't apply nearly as hard anymore. However, as I've been healing, I have found that I have other triggers that I work on. And I've also learned that there's many, many ways to deal with triggers so that when they do surprise me, they don't catch me completely off guard. I understand now that because of my traumas, I'm always going to have some sort of trigger, and I may not always know it's coming, but I've developed skills for any scenario so that should one surprise me, I probably have a skill that will be useful in that scenario. That's why mental health help is so important. For me, I needed somebody to teach me how to boundary up because I didn't know how to make a boundary. I didn't know what was required in a boundary, and I really didn't know what a boundary was for. Growing up, I didn't know that you were allowed to have boundaries, and that was a big thing right there to discover while I was healing. And once I figured out how to make proper boundaries, make healthy boundaries, even though when I started, they were immensely uncomfortable to set. I did not want to set boundaries. Most of the time is because they were with people I already established relationships with. And when you change mid-relationship, the people who don't like it when you change are usually the people benefiting from you. Now, catching the triggers was the hard part. And then learning what boundary to put in place for that particular trigger was another hard part. But now, where I am in my recovery, I know that for, say, my triggers, not all authority is bad. That's a combat to that trigger. If I have that thought that, oh my God, it's authority. Oh my God, I'm being pulled over by a cop. Being told what to do is a trigger. Stop hanging around people that tell you what to do. If you feel like somebody's telling you what to do, be like, I don't like being told what to do. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. You don't even have to say that. You can just stop hanging out with that person. No explanation is necessary. I mean, it's nice, but it ain't necessary. When somebody's tone of voice triggers me, then it's time to talk to that person about their tone and maybe say, maybe you don't realize that you're using a tone with me that makes me feel a way. Usually people don't know when they're triggering you because your triggers are going to be unique to you. And sometimes two people might have similar experiences but not be triggered by the same things. So it is very individual triggers. Boundary problems are misdirected attempts to be loved. When I think back now and I think back to my lack of boundaries, A lack of boundaries shows the lack of self-respect and love that you have for yourself. Because if you don't care to keep a boundary because somebody else's peace and happiness is more important to you, that's a huge problem. All you have control over is your own self and your own emotions and your own actions. You really have no control over how you make other people feel, because you could be a whole ray of sunshine and somebody might not like you because they enjoy the rain. I always like to say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea because I'm a shot of whiskey. You can't be somebody's cup of tea if you a shot of whiskey. Over the years, I've had many, many boundary issues. And being as active as I have been in mental health and therapy through the years, I have come into lots of ways of helping my triggers and also setting proper boundaries so that those triggers have less power over me. Because that the less that you're controlled by your triggers means the less that you're controlled by other people. Other people don't have the ability to drop in, say 5 words, trigger you, and then just leave, because you're the one left with that mess. So it's what you allow your reaction to be. I will no longer allow other people to control me by making me feel any sort of way. I remind myself that I am in control of my emotions and how I feel. And if I have a feeling come across that doesn't quite fit the facts, then I investigate it. I investigate it with an open heart and an open mind, with no judgment, to see where it takes me and where it came from. I think the most important part in mental health healing is being able to have honest and open curiosity about what is going on with yourself. It is very easy to become very judgmental about myself. So story time here kind of applies here. And this applies because this is a boundary with myself. So it got a little cold here in Georgia. I don't want to go out jogging because I like to go early. It's quite chilly early, and I'm uncomfortable if I put too many clothes on before I go jogging, because by the time I get home, I'm super sweaty. So to problem solve this, I decided to buy myself an exercise bike, which I did. Now, I bought the bike shipped to me, it arrived, I had to put it together, and then I could use it. That process from the time I stopped jogging to the time I got my bike up and together was exactly 1 week. But that was 1 week without jogging. I still did my yoga every morning, but I stopped jogging. And I noticed my thoughts right away. My thoughts were every morning when I woke up, and my time frame would roll by that I should be strapping on shoes and going out jogging. And I wasn't. I would go, "What are you doing? Why are you not going? This isn't enough. It's just around the block." I tried my just around the block. That doesn't work when it's cold for me. It really does not work when it's cold for me. 1 week without jogging, and I found myself beating myself up about the same time every day when I hadn't gone out jogging. So, a couple days into this beating myself up, I caught myself and said, "Why? Who? Who said that? Who said I have to go every single day?" Well, I technically did when I said to build a habit, you have to do it so many times, you know. And I get that. But it doesn't negate the fact that as soon as I got the bike, I didn't immediately start riding it, which I have. Taking a week off from jogging is not that big a deal. It just gave myself a little rest. I got a good rest before I actually started biking. Now, it would have been biking sooner had I not had a problem putting the darn thing together, but my operator error was corrected, and I did get the bike together, and I am riding every day now and doing at least 3 miles with my tension cranked up to 7, so it feels like I'm carrying the weight of myself. That boundary with myself that I was breaking, that was making me feel kind of ucky inside, was this punishing me, this punishing talk from myself for not riding the bike every day. And there's no reason to punish me every day. I knew what I was doing. I was buying a bike to fix the problem and get back on my exercise program, but I didn't give up yoga. I was still doing my yoga. So why was I beating myself up for this? Is it come from the past? Is this something that I brought from my childhood when I didn't do well enough at something that making me feel bad about it was going to make me do better somehow? That's not true because it doesn't work. It didn't work then, and it most definitely doesn't work now. So I changed that language after a couple days of doing it and noticing that I was starting to feel kind of bad about myself. Then I had to tell myself, hey, it's okay. We're going to do yoga this morning, and we're really going to focus on that yoga until we can get our biking in place of the jogging. I told myself that it's okay if I miss a few days because as soon as I get the bike, I'm going to be on it every day because it's here and it's in the house at any time of day, whether it's warm, too cold, whatever it is, I can get on that bike. If I feel the need for a burst of energy, if I feel like, hey, something's a little off, something's a little wrong today, maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe I just need to exercise. Maybe I just need to get my heart rate up. I challenge you to maybe keep your healthy boundaries with yourself. Everybody is worthy of love. Those triggers pop up because those boundaries aren't in place. In order to show yourself true love and true respect, you have to follow your own boundaries, like I have to do with myself quite often when I feel the need to punish myself or beat myself up for something that is just not my fault. Even just for taking a break and relaxing, it's okay to take a break and relax. I know that's crazy to think, but it's true. Relaxing is just as important as the doing. And if you're struggling, whether it's with suicidal thoughts or you're struggling with a crisis that you're having, know that there are people out there to contact and get some help that doesn't cost anything. The National Crisis Hotline is a number that you can call to get some help from a peer support specialist. The number to call is 988, and I encourage you to use it should you need somebody to talk to and not have anybody. As always, take what resonates and leave the rest. And until next time, light and love, friends.